The 2022 NASCAR Cup season is off to a tremendous start, with parity across the garage, seeing new stars step up to the plate to challenge the frontrunners of NASCAR's Premier Series. Today, the third stop of the campaign brings us to Sin City. Welcome to the Las Vegas Motor Speedway as we get you ready for the 2022 Pennzoil 400 presented by Jiffy Lube. Unlike yesterday where we saw all types of weather conditions affect the race, today much more calm temperature going to be in the low to mid 60s. Wind gusts though 15 miles an hour should make for a very windy ride for 40 of our drivers, but good thing 0% chance of rain is expected to be a part of this race. Welcome ladies and gentlemen to another episode of MDK Race Day. My name is Jet and hope y'all are having a wonderful Sunday morning as we get you ready for the third race of the 2022 NASCAR Cup Series season. Now we begin with some news regarding what took place on Friday. Of course, NASCAR teams will enter into Friday on the race weekend for pre-qualifying inspection. Well, of course, with the next-gen car being entered into the mix, no surprise to see that numerous teams are going to be failing pre-qualifying inspection in the first coming weeks of the season. This time, 5 teams failed pre-qualifying inspection twice. The 4 car of Kevin Harvick, the 9 of Chase Elliott, the 21 of Harrison Burton, the 38 of Todd Gilliland, and the 77 of Josh Bilicki. Now, those drivers will lose a pit crew member. The first 4 that I just listed, the 4, the 9, the 21, and the 38, they will lose their car chief, while the 77 loses their engineer. On top of that, they also lose their pit selection. Now, even though we are 2 races into the season, it's never too early to take a look at the playoff grid. We have 24 races until the regular season finale at Daytona in August. So let's take a look at what the playoff grid looks like after 2 races. Now, the only 2 drivers colored in green, Austin Cindric and Kyle Larson with their victories. Now, all these drivers, Logano all the way until Cole Custer, they could possibly fall out of the top 16 depending on how this race goes. Joe Logano plus 31, Truex plus 27, Blaney 24, Briscoe 23, and onwards. You see the first 4 drivers out. Ty Dillon in 17th minus 2, Michael McDowell, Chase Elliott, and Kevin Harvick, they're all minus 3. Now, practice and qualifying this weekend at Las Vegas was a lot more tame compared to last weekend at Fontana, where it seemed as though every 3 or 4 minutes there was a red flag due to an incident on the racetrack, and in qualifying, I'm pretty sure 5 or 6 drivers spun during their qualifying runs. Well, that didn't happen luckily. We did have 2 incidents. Greg Biffle, who's making his return today at Las Vegas, had a little bit of an incident in turns 1 and 2, got a bit loose, but was able to gather back up. Kyle Busch, on the other hand, lost, I believe, a left rear tire entering turns 3 and 4, spun, backed it into the wall, and had to go to a backup car. Now, what was interesting about this is that the backup car that was used, the car was originally going to be used just for spare parts. It was a parts car that they would use in case something happens. They could just take a part from that race car and apply it to their original. Well, they had to go to their parts car and use that as their backup. I mean, when you take a look at a picture of the parts car, it was completely silver, had nothing on it, didn't even have Kyle Busch's name on it. It had Hamlin's name on the back of the car. So they had to work basically the entire day. They will obviously start dead last, and they just finished, I believe, at around 10:30, 11 p.m., finished the car. Yes, around 10:30 at least on the Eastern time. Obviously on the West Coast, it's 7:30 where they finished the car. But they worked on that car for 8 hours straight. Didn't have really that much practice. So Kyle Busch is obviously going to be a driver that we should watch out for, depending on the fact that number 1, he's had very limited practice on his original race car. Now he has a brand new race car that he's never even touched, and he's going to have to start at the rear of the field. Now let's take a look at the starting lineup for the 2022 Pennzoil 400. But first, let's talk about our pole winner. Busch Beer, the official beer of NASCAR, presents the Busch Light Pole Award given to the fastest driver at each NASCAR Cup Series race. Busch Light would like to congratulate Christopher Bell, scoring his first career pole in his 75th Cup Series start, driving the number 20 Toyota for Joe Gibbs Racing, winning with a pole speed of 182.673 miles an hour. And on the front row, you have Christopher Bell, like I said, is your pole winner. To his outside is the defending Las Vegas winner and defending Cup Series champion, Kyle Larson. Row 2 has a pair of Mustangs, the 2022 Daytona 500 champion, rookie Austin Cindric. And to his outside is Chase Briscoe. Incredible qualifying start, starts in the 4th position. Row 3 has Chase Elliott in the number 9 car, the 2020 Cup Series champion, and Joe Logano, a 2-time two-time Las Vegas winner starts alongside. Row 4 has Tyler Reddick in the 8 car trying to rebound after a tough race last weekend at Fontana. To his outside is the 11 car of Denny Hamlin. He won here back in the round of 12 last September. Round out the top 10 is Ricky Stenhouse Jr. and Austin Dillon. Incredible qualifying starts for those two Chevrolets. In row 6 you have Ryan Blaney and Martin Truex Jr. who won here back in 2017. Row 7 has Hendrick teammates Alex Bowman and William Byron. Row 8 has the Ford driver of Brad Keselowski who won here back in 2014. And Daniel Hemrick in the 16 car for Colleague Racing. Row 9 has Bubba Wallace in the 23 Toyota car, and to his outside is Ross Chastain in the 1 car. Right off the top 20 is rookie Harrison Burton and Eric Almirola in his final season in the 10 car. Row 11 has Daniel Suarez in the number 99 car from Monterrey, Mexico, and to his outside is Michael McDowell in the 34 car. Row 12 has Erik Jones in the 43 and Cole Custer in the 41. Row 13 has Kevin Harvick, a two-time Las Vegas winner, starts alongside. Greg Biffle making his return to the number 44 car, starts alongside in 26th. Row 14 has Chris Buescher in the 17 Ford and Justin Haley in the 31 car. Row 15 has Corey LaJoie and rookie Todd Gilliland. Row 16 has Las Vegas native Kurt Busch, won here back in the fall of 2020, starts alongside Ty Dillon in the 42 car. Row 17 has Cody Ware and Josh Bilicki. Row 18 has BJ McLeod and Garrett Smithley. And rounding out the field in the 37th position is the 2009 Las Vegas winner, Vegas native Kyle Busch. Now let's take a look at the odds to win at Las Vegas, presented by DraftKings. No surprise to see the defending winner, Kyle Larson, who won, I believe, 4 or 5 of the last 9 mile-and-a-half racetracks, top of the board with a 5-2 chance. Joe Logano and Chase Elliott both with a 15-2 chance. And then you have Ryan Blaney with a 10-1 chance, Denny Hamlin and Kyle Busch, 2009 winner, with a 12-1 shot, as well as the 24 driver of William Byron, Tyler Reddick and Martin Truex Jr. each with a 14-1 chance, and then Alex Bowman with an 18-1 shot, as well as Kevin Harvick, Erik Jones, Christopher Bell, Brad Keselowski, and Kurt Busch with a 25-1 chance. Then you have Daniel Suarez, Austin Dillon, and Austin Cindric with a 30-1 shot, and finally Ricky Stenhouse Jr. and Chase Briscoe, those with a 50-1 chance at winning. Now, what can we expect at Las Vegas? Well, number one, I don't think we're gonna expect much in terms of the weather. Now, it's gonna be pretty windy. Like I said, the wind gusts can get up to 15 miles an hour. Now, that is nowhere near as bad as it was yesterday. For the Xfinity Series, it was around nearly 30, 40, 50 miles an hour wind gust speed. So the weather is going to be much more calmer. Now, of course, we have to talk about with this next gen car, or Gen 7 car, however you want to call it, parity. Last weekend at Fontana, we saw a ton of parity. The top drivers that weekend was Erik Jones and Tyler Reddick. Those names you do not expect to dominate a Cup Series race, but even though at the end of the day, we saw the usual suspects like Chase Elliott, Kyle Larson, and Logano up front near the end, with Larson winning the race. Are we going to see the same style of parity continue with this race? I do believe so, but to a lesser extent. I don't think with the parity, and I understand with the next gen car is completely different than any generation of race cars. I still think you're going to see the best organizations rise up to the top. And I think the drivers and the teams are starting to get a better handling of this new car. Because of that, I don't think you're going to see the same amount of parity as we saw last weekend at Fontana. I do think you're going to see still some unusual names like Tyler Reddick. Yes, we know he's an incredible talent, but considering the equipment that he's in, we still don't expect him to be up front every weekend. I think he's going to be up front this weekend. Maybe even a Chase Briscoe could also be up towards the front. But I don't think you're going to see the drivers like Erik Jones, Daniel Suarez, or Daniel Hemrick up towards the front like what we saw last weekend at Fontana. And I think more and more races we get under our belts, more and more we're going to see less parity in the series. But at least for this weekend, I think we're going to still see a little bit of parity. Now, the reason why I say that is because when we take a look at the trends of previous winners at the Spring Las Vegas race, they've been all former Cup champions. In fact, the last time a driver won at Las Vegas without being a Cup champion was Carl Edwards back in 2011. 12 years ago was the last time a driver won at Vegas without being called champion. Since then, you had the likes of Matt Kenseth, Tony Stewart, Brad Keselowski, Kevin Harvick, Joe Logano, and now Kyle Larson. Those types of drivers have been winning the last few races at Vegas. And I think that trend is going to continue today. In terms of them being competitive, But again, you have to put an asterisk next to that. This car is nothing like the previous generation of cars. I do believe we're still going to see the big time teams rise up to the top, but I don't think we're going to see the same names. Like for example, you have the usual suspects of Joe Gibbs, Penske, Stewart Haas out in front, but look at the drivers. Christopher Bell on the pole. Third is Austin Cindric. Fourth is Chase Briscoe. Tyler Reddick in 7th, and Ricky Stenhouse Jr. and Austin Dillon round out the top 10. We're still seeing those big name teams step up to the plate, being competitive, but it's the different drivers compared to the drivers that we are supposed to expect to be out front, like Kevin Harvick. He's starting 25th. Kurt Busch, yes, he's in a new team, but still, he's a former Cup champion. He's 31st. Kyle Busch, he's an asterisk because he did crash, but starting dead last. And last weekend at Fontana, he had a horrible race. So still, that trending of the big teams rising up, but different names popping up, I think that trend is going to continue on. Which is why my pick to win is going to be a driver from Hendrick Motorsports. But it is not Kyle Larson. I got William Byron winning at Las Vegas. I mean, he was 4th overall in practice, 2nd in the 5-lap average, the 10-lap average, and was fastest in the 15-lap average. And I believe at a track like Las Vegas, it's going to get spread out. You're going to see long green flag runs. And I think William Byron is going to have the long run car that is going to be built for the end. And I think he's going to come out in front and he's going to win and break that streak of champions winning at Las Vegas. I just had this feeling that this trend of parity, again, parity is still going to be a factor, but it's just going to be the same teams, but different names pop up. Like, I do believe William Byron is going to win this race, but I won't be surprised if you see maybe Chase Briscoe have a strong run. Maybe Austin Cindric continue that momentum and having a strong run. Drivers that are from big time stables, but don't show that much speed. And I won't be surprised if we do see the veterans that we expect to be out in front struggle, like a Kevin Harvick or a Brad Keselowski. Again, yes, he's in RFK Racing, not as, one of the top dogs compared to the other teams in 2022, but still, you expect him at a track like Las Vegas where he has a good amount of success to be up in front, and I just don't see that happening. Overall, Las Vegas, in my opinion, has been a very fun racetrack, and I think the next gen car is going to produce a really good show. Although I don't think it's going to be as slippery and slidey as last weekend at Fontana, but I still think we're going to see a very fun race. A lot of drivers racing in different lanes. You're going to see drivers go from the tippy top, drivers go down very down low to the white line. It's going to be a very fun race, and I cannot wait to see what happens. But that is going to conclude this episode of MDK RaceDay. If you guys enjoyed this video, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe for more content. Tell me in the comment section down below, who do you think is going to win this race? But until next time, my name is Jett from MDK. Thank y'all so much for watching. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the Pennzoil 400. And we'll see you later tonight with an episode of MDK Racing Victory Stop. Enjoy the race, everyone.